Hi, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. If you haven't already done so, please visit ProRelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the newly released book, The Post-COVID Marketing Machine: Prepare Your Team to Win. And you can find out more information on this at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. So AI exploded really into the marketing scene about just under a year ago, and it has changed how all of marketers work. And the big question on the minds of CMOs is, are you ready, or am I ready? And well, let's see if we can help them out today. Marketers are learning more and more about how to take advantage of AI and build creative solutions that truly can differentiate their brands. Whether you're a small or a large marketer, getting AI to work for them can be a big differentiator in the market. Today, I'm interviewing one of the experts on AI, and his name is Pat LaCroix, and he's with Seekr at Seekr.com, and that's Seekr.com. So let me tell you a little bit about Pat. He is the EVP of Marketing and Commercial Strategy at Seekr. And Seekr is a leading artificial intelligence company specializing in transparent content evaluation. And for over 20 years now, Pat has worked inside major consumer brands and advertising agencies. Prior to Seekr, he held a variety of global marketing leadership roles at Bose, where he was responsible for brand marketing, media, digital, social, and partnerships with relevant brands such as the NFL, Amazon, Disney, and Spotify, just to name a few of those partnerships. And during this time, he was recognized, which is just truly amazing. And congratulations and kudos to him. He was recognized in the Sports Business Journal with the 40 Under 40 Award. Pat, welcome. So good to have you.
Great to be here, Guy. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Pat, before we get started, tell us how you got involved in marketing and AI. What's your backstory?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you kind of teed up a lot of my history, and it's always fun to go through memory lane there. Thanks, Guy. But yeah, as you said, I've been in the marketing business for over 20 years now. I've been blessed to have a variety of experiences and exposure to all sorts of different industries and companies and leaders. I've worked across both agency and brand side, across a whole host of functions, both B2C and B2B. Really started in media planning and buying, which, I think is one of the core places early on where artificial intelligence in the marketing space has had a big hand, even, well before, kind of AI became all the craze. I've had the opportunity to touch, beyond media, expand my horizons to brand marketing, sports marketing, sponsorships, partnerships, and more these days, business development and commercial strategy. And then also seeing kind of how different teams, different people, different customers work across the world. Had the great fortune to work with and lead teams across all parts of the world, and really had some truly amazing agencies and innovative brands like, like you said, CVS Health, Bose, and now Seekr. And I mean, I think, over time, in the marketing space, going back now, and I'm sad to say, I'm dating myself in some ways. But obviously technology and automation and software has increasingly become a part of the marketing discipline. And with that, the need to have greater data, greater insight, greater analytics, and artificial intelligence and what that's doing now to really give the marketing practitioner just much greater, quicker access to key critical information and content. I mean, that's really been, where things have really started to speed up in the marketing space, and kind of the power it's giving marketers to do things faster, particularly the routine tasks, the mundane tasks, but then also kind of idea generation and in some ways kind of content generation. AI is really taken a great leap forward, and I think is helping us all to provide tools and utilities to really work at a much higher level.
Yeah, absolutely, and it certainly is. So now you moved from working on the brand side recently with Bose. Now you're at Seekr. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Seekr and what Seekr does.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. Yeah, so I mean, Seekr, really, before I even talk about Seekr, I think it's really talking about the problem uh, that, we at Seekr are fighting. Really, Seekr is founded at a time, sadly in many ways, where there is just significant mistrust in all forms of media, government, education, health, and in general with the information we consume. So, Seekr's mission is really about building an information ecosystem, a web, so to speak, that you can trust. As you mentioned, we're an AI company. We build large language models, also known as LLMs, and have foundational models that adhere to principles of explainability and create trust. One of the core capabilities is our ability to train and use those models to deeply understand and rate different forms of content to kind of help fuel that content analysis. Not just me, but many talented engineers and data scientists and executives at the company have, deep background in web scale search, content processing, pattern recognition, signals detections and analysis, some real like, super duper futuristic type stuff. But really using those capabilities, harnessing that engineering prowess, we combine those features to be really, I would say highly task oriented LLMs, large language models, to better understand the nuances of spoken and written language and ultimately apply a set of principles or standards to that content. And really, what we do is we train these models to understand all forms of human communication and are able to extract signals from the noise, as we like to say, to really indicate what is more trustworthy, to give our customers, our clients, a better understanding of what content they should be leveraging, what insights they should be gathering, what they can trust in content. That's really, kind of what Seeker is. And, we are providing a whole host of things in terms of content acquisition, the advanced scoring things. We have signals and ways to detect subtext and nuance and context within content. We have a political lean filter, for example. We have a quote detector. We're able to identify where there might be bias in content. We've developed a whole host of different signals to kind of really, again, at the end of the day, help our clients and customers have a better understanding of what is the most reliable, credible, relevant content and information for them to inform their knowledge and information base.
Yeah, I like that, and I like your point about trust. And because sometimes you can tell that like content was written with AI.
Yes.
Most of the time you can't. Most of the time, I think at least the smarter marketers are taking kind of the suggested text out of AI, and then they're adding their own spin to it, and then cleaning it up, and so to speak, and making it really, something that makes a lot of sense, but also hits the exact message that and the way they want to get that message across. And I think that's a big deal, is the trust piece. And we were talking a little bit before about some people think that using AI to support what they're doing is kind of cheating, but in reality, the analogy there is that you would probably never trust your accountant if he didn't know how to use Excel. How would you, how can you not trust the marketer if they're not using AI? And I may have gotten the knots wrong, but AI is just as valuable to a marketer as a spreadsheet is to an
Yeah.
accountant.
Yeah, I mean, to get more informed, to spark an idea, a whole host of things connected to that. I mean, that at the end of the day is, to drive insights. I mean, that's a marketer's job is, to be as knowledgeable as possible about the marketplace, the customer. What are the insights to know about that customer, that market, how they can add value, and then ideally, come up with the right ideas to connect and persuade, who their customer is. So, I mean, AI is a, broadly speaking, is a wonderful tool to do that. And I mean, I love the accountant spreadsheet analogy. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it really was. And so like I was telling you, this friend of mine in this meeting, he mentioned that, and I said, "Wow, that is really a good way to put that." So, so now you worked in sports and sports sponsorships for a long time. So, how does what you did there and what you're doing now, how do they build on each other?
That's a great question and a fun one for me to answer. I mean, I think first I would say I'll kind of decouple the two there. I think that, sports really speaks to it, on the one hand is the competitive nature of sports, the business of sports. It's an exciting space to be in, beyond just what's happening, between the lines and on the court, so to speak, but what is happening kind of behind the scenes to kind of, make the sports, make sports as a general industry, multi, billion dollar industry that it is. And I think really the technology space and the AI space is very similar, like, very competitive, a lot of innovation going on, a lot of attention going on to it. That's very, very similar. And then on the partnership piece, how to kind of work together, work with partners to understand kind of where can there be a value exchange, where do we have shared values, how can we win together. I mean, there's a lot of principles from working in the business of sports and working in the partnership discipline that can kind of be universally applied. I think for us at Seekr, very competitive space we're in, very innovative space we're in. We've developed quite a bunch of innovations just in a short amount of time. I'm happy to kind of share more with you there, but it's very much too like if you work in the sports business, the speed and pace of change is significant. The need to continually be driving attention is vast, and tech is the same way. I mean, it's just constantly evolving. So there's a lot of universal principles that can be transferred and applied to what we're doing here at Seekr.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, although it would seem to me like technology is moving a lot faster than sports. I mean, okay, maybe there's some rule changes. Certainly, there's new talent that's coming on, and a lot of things like that, where the kind of the product is always the same, but it's different. I've
Yep.
got, Tom Brady, and then he retires, and you got somebody else, and then they retire, and then you got somebody else, and now you got, of course, Patrick Mahomes and what have you. So what was it like then moving kind of from what you were doing at Bose, a globally well-known brand, really a kind of a long-term brand. They've been out there for such a long time, and now moving to a really high-speed, fast, emerging technology like Seekr.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think some of the commonalities would be mission-driven organization, real sense of purpose. At Bose, it was and still to this day all about, the saying goes kind of wherever sound is important, there must be Bose.
Mhm.
So really delivering the best sound experience, the best listening experience to the customers, and also a strong kind of engineering DNA to the company, very similar to Seekr. We have really deep stable of talented engineers and data scientists working to really solve big problems, probably even bigger problems than giving people the gift of great sound. So very similar there. Great founders and leaders. Dr. Bose, who passed away a little over a decade ago, was just a total innovator in his space, a real visionary. Very similar at Seekr. We have a wonderful founder and CEO in Pat Condo with a real vision in terms of, providing a much more trustworthy web and giving people much more access and critical thinking skills to much more trustworthy information. Obviously, there's obviously a host of differences beyond that. We're really focused on B2B. Like you said, the speed of innovation in the AI space is significant. But very similar in that like highly competitive space, whether it's consumer electronics or in the space that we're in. And you get up every day with a real fire in your belly, knowing that you're working on something that's big, it has massive potential, it's solving real problems, and you're doing it with people who are really, really smart, make you better, and kind of working together on a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting too is, and what must be a little bit different as well is you used to work with Bose, globally recognized brand, and now you're with and I don't mean in a negative way, but a relatively unrecognized brand like Seekr, and you've got
For
to
now.
inch and crawl and scrape and whatever for every little piece out there, and it's a big change. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the biggest changes that companies that are like going from, or marketers going from B2C, business to consumer, versus B2B, business to business. And so tell us a little bit about those differences.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think one thing that's common, and I used to joke, early on in my career, I worked at a wonderful agency in Media Hub, who's doing fantastic. And I know they just got a big, I think it was US Media Agency of the Year according to Adweek. So congrats to my friends at Media Hub. But Media Hub, we really subscribe to this notion of challenger brand thinking. And I think many brands, no matter how big or how long they've been in business or how successful they've been in business, the most successful ones are always thinking of have that challenger mindset and are looking to disrupt categories and industries and oftentimes themselves to go to that next stage of growth. So that's a big commonality. So no matter how big you are, how small you are, where you're at in your growth trajectory, I think we all wake up in the morning with that fire in the belly and a challenger mindset. I think in terms of, B2C versus B2B, there definitely are some, common pieces in terms of really being customer driven, really being data driven, analytically driven, or at least I think that's what you need to do to be successful. But the cycles of B2B and the need to be data driven and really customer driven is that much more intense. At the end of the day, whether it's consumer or B2B marketing, you still are selling to people. And in the case of B2B, you're often trying to market and sell to many fewer people than you would be if you were with a large, global consumer brand. So you really have to understand, the persona of the segment and then oftentimes the individual in the B2B space. So really being attuned to those customer insights, that customer feedback, making sure you constantly have an eye and an ear for their needs and what the benefits are that they're looking for, and then how do you optimize your approach and adapt accordingly to best serve their business is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're so right. I mean, it's the same on both sides, the consumer and the B2B. But I think especially in the technology space where you have competitors leapfrogging each other and you're a little bit behind all of a sudden, then you're ahead, and then you're behind, and then you're ahead, and then you're behind. That I think was having worked in technology myself, I thought that was kind of the hardest
Yeah,
thing is it seems like you've constantly got to be battling what you're doing out there. And if you're and the fun part though is if you're the big brand, you can kind of go a little bit slower because people are
yeah,
kind of waiting on you.
yeah,
But if you're the challenger, and I like
yeah.
your talk about being a challenger, you've got yeah, you can actually maneuver a little bit faster and maybe even a little bit better.
Absolutely, and it's fun, and B2B marketing is not for the faint of heart, and it's also not boring. I think at Seekr, I joined about a year and a half ago, and just how we've continued to evolve and innovate, and the pace at which we do it is really exciting. I actually, I think we first started. Our first kind of iteration was we rated the news. So, like I mentioned before, we develop large language models and train our AI against expert standards and principles. So, part of trying to provide, more info to help our users become more informed, was start Let's Score in the news here. And we have a Seekr scoring system that analyzes and rates the news that you can see on news.seekr.com. And we tune that scoring to journalistic principles. We work with expert journalists and journalist advisors because, as I mentioned before, the human intelligence is the key piece to inform more reliable artificial intelligence. Um, and what's funny is as part of, ascribing journalistic standards to news, one of the factors we measure, including, is this clickbait, is this subjective, is this sourced, is there a byline? But one of the factors we measure is personal attack. And, had a conversation with someone about, probably less than a year ago about that. And collectively, we had the idea of, we should really apply that to podcasting and the spoken word.
Hmm.
And now here we are just 10 months later, and we've created a product and a service that starts in podcasting. It's called Seekr Align. And Align is meant to rate all form of content and really help marketers and advertisers better identify what is suitable or safe for their business in terms of what types of creators, publishers, networks they might want to place their ad dollars. But we've really focused on podcasting to start. One, from the business sense, it's a tremendous growth market. It's forecasted to double, I believe, from 2 billion to 4 billion in the next 2 years, which is a
Hmm.
significant growth rate for such a short amount of time. But what we're doing in the podcasting space is, we intend to accelerate that growth to the benefit of both the creator and the advertisers. And part of where we go with this notion of personal attack is the key signal that we are developing is measuring what we call civility. And we have the Seekr civility score, which just last week got a patent, in fact, which we think really gives brands and publishers alike, advertisers and creators alike, much greater understanding and transparency of what's the level and quality of the conversation, give them understanding and of the transparency of how to find larger audiences and reach more people, but in a suitable and safe manner. And the civility score, I think really provides creators and advertisers alike just a greater kind of depth and fidelity to make better business decisions on where is the right place for them to be, what aligns with their values. I think it's really important, particularly for advertisers, that they are supporting quality content creators that are having, responsible yet important and, ideally entertaining conversations. And, that's just one anecdote to explain, like, how, yeah, the rate of change in technology, what we're doing in AI, like things can move fast, a year ago, if we're speaking a year ago today, podcasting wasn't even on our radar. And now here we are today, a year later, and, having deep conversations about, what we're doing in the podcast arena. So you never know what's going to come tomorrow.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you're right about podcasts. A couple of years ago, nobody really ever heard of a podcast, and so to speak. I guess they've been around a little bit longer, but
No,
I
they have,
think
but I mean, by my sources I've seen, it's I think the number of podcasts has grown about 5x just in the last
mm,
5 years. COVID certainly had part to do with that, and I mean, you've seen some of the big publishers like Spotify and Wondery and SiriusXM make significant investments behind creators, but in spite of and the time spent with podcasting as a result by the average consumer and listener has significantly increased. But the fact of the matter is the advertising market is still immature. I believe only
mm,
3% of kind of U.S. ad dollars are going to podcasting, and let me tell you, the average U.S. Media consumer is spending much more than 3% of their media time with podcasting. So we think there's ways with the signals and measurements we develop with our content evaluation system that we can kind of shine a light on the longer tail of podcasts, also provide new signals and measurements to podcasts that then will bring more advertisers in, bigger
mm.
advertisers in, spending at a higher rate, and then that by exchange, funds more podcasting and gives podcast companies and creators more funding to do the work that they need to do.
Yeah, right. And I like your point too about the longer tail of podcasting, and to your point as well, as if I'm a big brand, I need to make sure that I am aligned. Even a small brand, well, all brands, you have to be aligned with a kind of almost a semi-sponsor. A podcast is kind of like a sponsor. They're talking about things, and you don't want that whatever they're talking about to somehow malign the advertiser that's trying to be on there. And that's actually a very interesting tool that you're putting together.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I love that you, I think organically and without prompt, used the word align several different times, because that's actually the name of the product that we've
Oh,
developed in the space. And it goes beyond podcasting too. And I take it from my previous experience, what we're going to be doing across all, the digital ecosystem, with the web and we're already in news and we're going to expand to all parts of the web and then, soon to be in video and social and what we can do with audio and image and text detection. It's all really important. When I was at Bose, I tell the story, overseeing many parts of the marketing function and media buying and planning in particular. We were one of those brands that back in like 2018 that like, kind of got we're gotcha named on the Wall Street Journal for, our we ran an, ad somewhere on YouTube that showed up next to, unsavory content. And then all of a sudden, like, we were in this like brand safety jail and had all sorts of
Yeah.
internal dialogues and discussions about like how did this happen, what could happen. And at the time, we just basically, we started developing exclusion, inclusion lists for these keywords are not appropriate for us. These
Mm.
genres and topics are not appropriate for us. And, candidly, we overdid it in a very much like, pardon my French, CYA manner, because we just didn't,
Hmm.
one, we didn't want to support unsavory, unsafe content. I mean, that goes without saying. But on the other hand, we just overextended and over-engineered. Like, we will not be in any of the following, broad categories, broad topics. And that what that does is it really squeezes the marketplace, takes oxygen out of the marketplace. A lot of these, good publishers, good journalists, good creators, the only way they can run is if they're funded by advertising. So when the
Mm.
big advertisers cut them off unintentionally, that has big problems. And you see it in what's happening in, news media and, many media companies across the landscape, certainly in the local media, local news, is quite underfunded. And I think, if we can just, take more of a pruning knife rather than a machete to how we think about what is suitable, what is safe, where to run ad dollars, then I think more quality creators and publishers get rewarded. It opens up the market for advertisers to better understand where they can get greater reach, and also responsible and also be responsible with where they put their investments at the end of the day. So we very much see what we're doing as a way to like open up the market, provide more options and inventory for advertisers to confidently run in, and at the same time, provide a reward mechanism for the publishing side of the house.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because for a journalist or a podcaster, you can, if you're very edgy, then you're going to get noticed more. And the podcaster, of course, and I'm guilty of this too, we want as many followers and subscribers and listeners as we can get. And no question about it that being more edgy, now I'm not an edgy guy, just the way I
Oh,
am,
come on,
but
guy.
yeah. But in any case, though, being edgy and on the cutting edge and maybe going a little bit past it just to get that, it could, I could see where, as a brand, you need to make sure that you don't align with the ones that just go past that line, so to speak. And
Yeah,
I can
and
see then
that's and
where,
totally agree. And that's where, I mean, you're right. I mean, look, we all have, as a consumer, I like edgier content myself, and that's what's nice about what we've developed at Seekr is, you can filter and use our scoring, and I encourage anyone to go to our site and play around and better understand what I'm talking about here. But we score and rate the content so that you can filter and sort based on what is most suitable for your tendencies and desires. And I mean, I think you can go to the edge and have edgier content, which oftentimes can be more entertaining and provocative. But the biggest things for us is like there's still a responsibility and civility. So as I mentioned, we have the patent for the civility score, which in the simplest terms measures the frequency of personal attacks, right? The
hmm,
severity and frequency of personal attacks. So, you can still have hard conversations, you can have edgy conversations, but they can still be respectful and kind of live by that golden rule of civility, which is, treat one another the way you'd want to be treated yourself, right? So not going after, gender, race, weight,
mm,
orientation, whatever it might be, but still be edgy, and there's plenty of examples of content that we see that we would rate as suitable, reliable, credible, and it's probably on the edgier side, but they do a nice job of having provocative, highly edgy conversations without being like uncivil or disrespectful to one another.
yeah, yeah. This question might be a little bit more about the product or so, but one of the challenges that I've seen with these news rating systems, and where you get positive, negative, neutral, is quite often. So we're working with a healthcare company, and some of the words that going into being negative in general are not negative for for a healthcare company. So the news could be this company just treated this person for cancer and they're cured. and because it has the word cancer in it, the article is rated negative. And
Yeah.
there's kind of like no way to kind of appeal the decision, so to speak. Have you found that kind of to be a challenge for how you're rating the different podcasters and how they can get out of the penalty box, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I mean that's exactly kind of why we exist, is to help solve that problem. So, as I mentioned, keyword lists and just or category kind of good bad grading systems. That is not what we're at. Everything we do is we analyze individual pieces of content on their own merit and against set standards and principles that are tuned to specific, industries, or in this case, is clients, right? So yeah, if you're a healthcare company and we're doing an analysis on your behalf, we would not, we would take, we would analyze the content relative to, your criteria, your standards, your principles, and then kind of verify it and rate it that way. And I mean, just to give you by way of background, the predecessor, the team at Seekr and kind of our core leadership team, our core engineering team, they have been doing what I would kind of call government grade content analysis for quite a long time. The predecessor to Seekr kind of comes from defense, intelligence, telco industries, where we've been kind of more behind the scenes doing contextual analysis, semantic analysis, understanding natural language processing, natural language understanding, and using kind of technology and training AI to better understand kind of within context, what does this mean? Is this credible? Is this reliable? Would we deem this, suitable? Is this, in more simple terms, is this relevant? Is this useful? Is this good? Is this bad? So, we should probably have a further conversation offline about
Yeah,
your healthcare
yeah.
client. I think we could add a lot of value there.
Well, definitely, my synapses are firing as you're talking. I mean, there's so many cool little
Yeah.
things that I could imagine you guys are doing. That's just really cool. So, given all of that, now marketers, of course, are trying to always be ahead of the other marketers that they're competing against. So, what do you see as the next big thing in marketing for all of us marketers?
I think, I mean, certainly AI is the thing, I'm thrilled to be kind of riding and part of that movement. I think, the big thing is how AI can fuel not just like our efficiency, because I think it's kind of table stakes that like, look, you can save a lot of time on more of the kind of routine, mundane, traditional time sucking tasks thanks to AI, but how to use that to kind of inspire creativity, but still have that balance of, human in the loop, kind of, human strategy, human thinking, human ideation, like fueled and inspired by AI. That's really where I see things going. I think you had mentioned earlier, you can tell kind of when something is, creatively is sourced by AI. I personally, maybe it's because I'm a Boston guy, I've loved the Dunk Kings, the Dunkin' Donuts spot that broke out of the Super Bowl, and then the 4 minute long form with Ben Affleck, Tom Brady, and Matt Damon. And I think to myself, and maybe someone at Dunkin' will tell me otherwise, like I don't think AI could have crafted that concept. It's so rich and nuanced, and you'd have to kind of have been there to like, come up with that. But I do think more and more like how we can use technology to, get us somewhere faster, and then use it to inform bigger ideas. And then also I think where I think things are really going, and certainly where I think Seeker plays, is not just allowing technology and the platforms that we engage with to be kind of, have algorithms that are optimized just for popularity and clicks. And as you said earlier, like, the clicks are important. That's what makes the business go round. But I think also because we are on a mission to create a much more trustworthy, ecosystem, a much more trustworthy infoscape. I think the fact of the matter is like the intersection of knowledge and attention, they don't have to be mutually exclusive anymore. At least that's me on my
Mm.
soapbox and what we're trying to solve for at Seeker.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think, to your point, that creative juices and whatever to come up with the Dun Kings and the
Yeah.
and Ben Affleck and J Lo and all the little nuance that was there. But I could see though, once that idea or the general idea is created, I could see where the script writers or some
Mhm.
of the other things are saying, Okay, given this background, what would you have Ben Affleck say? What would you
Yeah.
have Tom Brady say or whatever? And I could see where that, that's where the AI kind of comes in to
Yeah.
then embellish and potentially get you better and certainly faster, but better potentially script writing overall to really, blow out that idea and be a
Yeah.
real winner in the
And then what can it do in
marketplace.
terms of production, right? It's been a few years since I've overseen a consumer TV campaign, but I'd like to think AI can get us to a place where maybe the proverbial $1 million shoots isn't the
Yeah, yeah.
is more of the exception, not the rule going forward. But
Well,
that's
I don't know about you, but I like going, taking a week and flying out to Thailand or something like that to do a photo, to do a shoot. So don't want those to go away
okay. All
necessarily.
right. Scrap that.
Yeah, scrap that. Yeah, it's okay. We need a whole nother week yet. We just don't have a couple of the lines down. Don't want
Yeah.
that to go faster.
Yeah. Okay. It's your show.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right. So last question for you, and what advice would you give an up and coming marketer so that they can be successful in their careers?
Yeah, it's a great question. The lots of probably a few different pieces here. I think first and foremost, just diversity in all the ways. Number one, certainly diversity of experiences. I think the more you are in different industries, working with different constituents, different types of leaders, different types of challenges, different types of customers, especially earlier on in your career. I think the stronger you be in the long run. Um, I think curiosity is key. I do worry, as we have, and then, now I feel like I'm dating myself and coming as the angry old guy here. I do worry we've over-engineered in terms of specialties and specialists, and kind of folks who just are work solely within kind of algorithms and bid streams and kind of just optimizing to an end goal. And I think performance and growth marketing is critical and has made us a much better discipline as a result. But just I do worry that sometimes we have to take a step back and be marketing at the end of the day is driven a lot by creativity and strategy. So kind of having to be successful in that in the group in capital and marketing, you do have to have that curiosity, that insatiable need to continue to learn. And then also, I think just understanding the full suite of understanding your customer is crucial, making sure you have the right insights and knowledge base on whoever that customer is you're serving. And then how does your business oriented to serve that customer? So kind of on that curiosity piece of advice, continuing to go beyond, above and beyond just the whatever function you are in marketing or wherever you're doing in marketing and really understanding kind of, sales, operations, engineering, product management, whatever it might be, the better you understand all of those things and kind of how they contribute to the bottom line of the business, like if you are going to continue to be a marketer, the better marketer you'll be. I'll also say, particularly in bigger companies, but in any company, be friends with those people. I used to joke like, legal, HR,
Mhm.
procurement, finance, make sure those are your best friends and you have great relationships with those people because ultimately if you do want to be successful in your craft, which often requires kind of bold thinking and some educated risk taking, you're going to need finance and procurement and legal to be on your side to get anything done correctly. So don't fight with those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like your point on that. And it's kind of interesting. It's those soft skills
Mhm.
that not only to be gregarious and be friendly, but to want to learn things outside of, so to speak, the hard skills of marketing.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, you do need to create a great ad, but unfortunately, legal has got to approve it or
yeah,
whatever, or you
yeah,
got to hire somebody. And so you need kind of that combination of being able to do great creative, great development, and then all of the other things to make sure you can get the rest of the company on board.
yeah.
So
Relationships matter.
yeah,
Relationships with your customer, relationships with your business partners, everything in
a-
between. Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. Pat, thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to do this. I learned a lot. I'm really excited about reading more and learning more about Seekr and Seekr Align and what you're doing there. It sounds like you're definitely on the cutting edge of of using AI and actually delivering something that really can add a lot of value that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get from other ways. So tell us, where can people learn more about you and more about your company?
Sure. First and foremost, go check us out, www.seekr.com, Seekr. You can learn more there. We also have news.seekr.com where folks can kind of see, we call it a reference platform where folks can kind of see how our scoring is puts to work to content in real time. We're crawling and rating over 30,000 publishers every second of every single day. And then, yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Pat LaCroix. And yeah, Guy, it was my pleasure to be here.
Pat, thank you so much. And again, that was Seekr.com, Seekr.com, to find out more about that. And Pat LaCroix, of course, on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. And for the audience, please stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And if you'd like, please go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and you can download the first chapter of my book. And there's a bunch of other really good stuff out there. Pat, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks, Guy.